So we're now going to take a look at the serious case review of child AB. Now this case is going to raise the issues concerning the plausibility of the stepfather and how it enabled him to take control of decisions concerning child AB's care and well-being and that of the siblings. This is evidenced in the acceptance by professionals of the stepfather's decision not to engage with various professionals, not taking child AB to health appointments, communication between the school and the family to be through stepfather, seeing the cause of child AB's behaviour to be the child's responsibility, and acceptance by professionals from all agencies of this adult male when stepfather did not have parental responsibility for child AB or several of the siblings. So this serious case review was held in 2020 and it's child AB. So there's also a link here if you want to see the public access newspaper account. So we're going to look at what the newspaper said and then we'll go into the detail of the serious case review. So The Guardian reported, child cruelty case triggers call for homeschooling review. Northamptonshire parents jailed for neglect and abuse of home-educated son. Child protection experts have called for a national review of homeschooling following an inquiry into a case in which a violent stepfather and his partner subjected their young son to extreme neglect and abuse. The boy, known as Child AB, endured 4 years of cruelty, including being beaten, locked in his room and forced to defecate on the floor, fed stale food and banned from speaking to his siblings. He was taken into care in 2016. His parents, a 34-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman, were convicted of 5 counts of child cruelty last May and jailed for 7 and 3 years respectively. An official serious case review published on Wednesday by the Northamptonshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership found significant failures by social workers and NHS staff who it said had missed early chances to remove the boy. Fortunately, in this case, child AB did not die. If children's social care and police had not acted when the school passed on concerns arising from disclosure by child AB's siblings, then the outcome could have been very different, the review said. However, by not instigating child protection procedures when previous referrals had been made to children's services, child AB was left to endure continuing neglect and serious abuse for years. It highlighted the controlling and manipulative nature of the stepfather, who signalled out child AB for acts of extreme cruelty, while seemingly treating the boy's other siblings differently. Although he had no parental responsibility, safeguarding professionals failed to challenge him on this, the review found. The boy's mother, the review found, abdicated her responsibilities and duties as a parent to the stepfather. Although at one stage the County Council Social Services set up a child in need plan, it closed the file after 3 months after deciding there were no concerns for the child's welfare. The review states, within weeks of closing the case, stepfather made professionals aware of his intention to electively home educate child AB. These decisions resulted in child AB not being seen by any professional for over a year. In effect, child AB was hidden from view and the abuse perpetrated by stepfather with a lack of protection by the mother continued. However, child AB was never home educated as his stepfather never submitted an application form. This resulted, the review says, in the child being out of school, effectively out of sight for a period of 14 months. Attempts by the school to get the forms completed appear to have been rebuffed. The review recommended that national plans in regards to home-educated children should be reviewed and that more resources should be made available to assess and monitor children who are taken out of school to be educated at home. The report states, whilst it is currently a parent's right to elect to home-educate their child, the sanctions for not complying with the local authority requirement to visit the child's home, interview the child, see the child's work and provide information concerning the programme of work produced by the child are limited. The County Council's Cabinet Member for Children's Services said, "We are deeply sorry for any poor decision-making and mistakes which may have contributed to this awful case of abuse. Children's Services are on an improvement journey, and although much progress has been made, there is still a lot to do. The case is the third high-profile serious case review in recent years involving Northamptonshire County Council Children's Services. Last year, 2 reports found that professionals missed opportunities to save 2 toddlers who were murdered by men with histories of domestic violence, crime and drug use." What the report then said, so the serious case review, these are all extracts now from that serious case review report. Child AB's behaviour was indicative of safeguarding concerns. The child's demeanour changed at school, and it is questionable whether child AB had any peers or friends. When child AB was encouraged to speak, the responses were confusing and concerning. The arrival of stepfather in the family home dramatically influenced the way in which child AB was cared for and how the child was treated by the mother and the other children. It is evident from the information provided to the review that from the outset, child AB was scapegoated by stepfather. Child AB was signalled out for different treatment to that of the siblings. Child AB was the second oldest child in the family when stepfather arrived. From the time he arrived in the family home, stepfather dominated and controlled the mother and the children, but his behaviour towards child AB amounted to extreme cruelty. The significant harm posed to children by violent stepfathers is a continuing theme of so many serious case reviews, child safeguarding practice reviews, as evidenced by high-profile cases such as that of Maria Colwell in 1973 and baby Peter Connolly 34 years later in 2007. Fortunately, in this case, child AB did not die. If children's social care and police had not acted when the school passed on the concerns arising from disclosure by child AB's siblings, then the outcome could have been very different. However, by not instigating child protection procedures when previous referrals had been made to children's services meant that child AB was left to endure continuing neglect and serious abuse for years. The plausibility of stepfather enabled him to take control of decisions concerning child AB's care and well-being and that of the siblings. This is evidenced in the acceptance by professionals of they accepted stepfather's decision not to engage with various professionals. They accepted the stepfather not taking child AB to health appointments. They accepted that communication between the school and the family was to go through the stepfather. They accepted that seeing the cause of child AB's behaviour to be the child's responsibility. And they accepted an acceptance by professionals from all agencies of this adult male when stepfather did not have parental responsibility for child AB or several of the siblings. It is striking that throughout stepfather's involvement with mother, she was barely seen or communicated with by any professional agency. Given his controlling behaviour of the children, it seems more than probable that stepfather also exercised control of the mother. Little is known of stepfather's background. However, there was a lack of curiosity about his past or challenge to his dominance and the way he controlled the children, most especially child AB, mother and professionals themselves. This is a lesson learned from this review. So this is coming to the professional curiosity issues. However, it is pertinent to remember when considering the challenges presented to professionals by certain parents, Lord Lamin's comment in his report on the baby Peter Connolly case. They become very clever at diverting attention away from what has happened to the child. Therefore, for people who work in this field, whether health visitors, police officers, social workers, whatever, have to recognise this in their evidence gathering. They have to be sceptical, they have to be streetwise, they have to be courageous. So that was said by Lord Lamin in 2009. As is the case with many reviews into serious abuse or death of children, professionals often assume that an adult who presents with the child to an appointment or meeting, notably in respect of health appointments, is the parent. Challenge as to whether the adult has parental responsibility is rarely made. In this case, most agencies recorded stepfather as father of child AB and all the siblings, including those for whom he was not the biological father. Stepfather took all the children to medical appointments and in the case of child AB decided whether the child would attend appointments or not and that the child would be home educated. The importance of professionals ascertaining as to whether an adult presenting as the parent of the child has actually parental responsibility has been highlighted in this review. The need for agencies to question and challenge whether an adult who states they are the mother or father of a child does indeed have parental responsibility is a lesson learned from the review. It was not until child AB was removed from the family home by police and children's services that child protection procedures were invoked when the child was police protected. By seeking to explain child AB's presenting behaviour as being a problem with the child, meant that the dominating control of stepfather and the lack of intervention to protect child AB from abuse by the mother was allowed to continue for many years. When the decision was made that child in need plans were appropriate, the case was only open for a matter of 3 months before it was decided that there was no concerns and it was appropriate to close the case. Within weeks of closing the case, stepfather made professionals aware of his intention to electively home educate child AB. These decisions resulted in child AB not being seen by any professional for over a year. In effect, AB was hidden from view and the abuse perpetrated by stepfather with a lack of protection by the mother continued. The need to undertake robust, comprehensive social care assessments in which the best interests of the child are paramount is imperative if children are to be protected from harm and serious neglect. Similarly, the necessity of not closing cases of child in need before ensuring that there is sufficient and appropriate monitoring of children in place is a vital lesson learned from this review. The need for information to be shared within and between agencies is the fundamental basis of good safeguarding practice and is a lesson learned from this review. Whilst information was shared at professional meetings and for the brief period that the children were subject to child in need plans, the reliability of the information sharing should have been questioned. The information provided to professionals was dependent on what stepfather and to a lesser extent mother chose to disclose. There is a lack of information available to the review as to how many times professionals were able to gain access to the family home, whether the children were interviewed without stepfather being present. It is known that stepfather was frequently in meetings and consultations with child AB, and whether it was recognised that the voice of the child needed to be heard. Throughout this review, there is evidence of disguised compliance on the part of the mother and father. Mother abdicated her responsibilities and duties as a parent to stepfather, and it was his decision as to how and with whom the children could interact. By attending meetings concerning child AB with professional agencies and seemingly engaging in processes, stepfather maintained a facade of compliance and concern. The reality was that stepfather was controlling the engagement of professionals with child AB and siblings and possibly with mother. The importance of professionals to be confident to challenge parental non-engagement with agencies and to be alert of disguised compliance is a lesson learned from this review. This review has highlighted the importance of appropriate monitoring of the increasing number of parents who elect to home educate their children. Child AB was never subject to home education as stepfather failed to submit the application forms, which resulted in child being out of school, effectively out of sight for a period of 14 months. This was known by the Education Department, who persisted in trying to get the application forms. However, there are no statutory requirements for this to be submitted. Whilst it is currently a parent's right to elect to home educate their child, sanctions for not complying with the local authority requirement to visit a child's home, interview the child, see the child's work and provide information concerning the programme of work produced by the child are limited. Consideration of the national plans in regards to children who are home educated and required sources to enable elective home education to be effectively assessed and monitored is a lesson learned from the review, and one which requires urgent attention if children are to be protected from the risk of significant harm. Child AB waited considerable time for an appointment to be assessed by CAMS, only for mother and stepfather to fail to take the child to the appointment. They then failed to respond to contact the service when asked to rebook an appointment, resulting in child AB being removed from the list to be seen. Similarly, stepfather only took child AB to some of the other medical appointments. Children rely on their parents and carers to take them to medical appointments. Thus, consideration of child protection concerns should be taken into account when children miss appointments because of non-engagement by parents with health services. It is a lesson learned from this review that the consequences of children not being brought to medical appointments often results in the service being withdrawn and a child who is at risk then not being seen. Whilst the removal of children from the care of their parents is difficult, any plans need to consider the safety and best interests of the children, as well as the risk to children being left in an environment where the potential evidence for prosecution may be compromised. This is a lesson resulting from this review. All serious case reviews and child safeguarding practice reviews make for difficult reading. They also represent challenges to professional practice. This review is no exception. The suffering, abuse and cruelty experienced by child AB was evident throughout the review. The manipulation and control exercised by stepfather towards professionals with whom he came into contact cannot be underestimated. The perseverance of the school nurse in attempting to bring her concerns about child AB to the attention of fellow professionals is to be commended. Unfortunately, her referral to the MASH did not result in child protection procedures being instigated, and it would be another year before action was taken to safeguard child AB and siblings. This review has highlighted a number of key themes, the majority of which can be found in so many reviews into the deaths and serious abuse of children. It is hoped that the lessons arising from this review will lead to reflection on the part of the professionals involved in this case and to those reading this report as to how practice can be improved and strengthened to ensure that children such as child AB are prevented from exposure to such serious abuse and significant harm. Recommendation 1. So now we're going to go through some of the recommendations from this serious case review. All agencies to reinforce the requirement for professionals to maintain vigilance and professional curiosity when engaging with families when there are safeguarding concerns and a step parent is present. This is to include gathering as much information as possible about the step parent to inform an assessment, seeking assurance and evidence that an adult purporting to be the parent of a child has parental responsibility to make decisions concerning the health, well-being and education of that child or children. Recommendation 2. The Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel are asked to consider the issue of elective home education and hidden children, which is a national issue, with a view to undertaking a future thematic review. Recommendation 3, on the basis that safeguarding of children must always be a priority, the potential risk on the evidence for prosecution needs to also be considered in the accommodation arrangements of children. Recommendation 4, all agencies, especially those involved in health provision, to review their policies and procedures regarding children who are not brought to appointments to ensure that children are not placed at risk of significant harm by a service being withdrawn as a result of non-attendance. Recommendation 5, the reading of this report should be mandatory for all professionals employed by partner agencies to ensure that the lessons highlighted in this report serve to improve and enhance safeguarding practice. Now, that's the report. So you've seen the news article and you've seen the highlights of the serious case review. For you now, you need to think about, is there any learning from this in relation to your workplace? And the following task is going to ask you about that specific thing. What are the learning points from this for you and your team?